Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to make a pyramid with a Christmas tree and a snowman and Stitch in it. And I got these cute little fairy LED lights that I want to put into the tree to make it light up. I've never used this pyramid mold before. I've had it for quite a while and I've just never had the balls to use it. But I have watched some videos on YouTube and I remember someone saying, I don't remember who it was, that putting some baby powder in between the housing and the actual silicone itself helps when you are going to take it out later on. So that is what I did. Now, for this tree, I just got, I think it's a 10 set of lights that are colorful lights, and I am kind of going to wrap them two different ways and shove them in the tree. This way I can get some towards the top of the tree and then some towards the bottom. And because I am going to, after I demold this tree is going into the pyramid, I want to make sure that I leave enough of the wire out that I'm going to have the space that I need once I'm done and whatever. I mean, hindsight, I probably left way too much, but I'd rather be safe than sorry, so it's all good. Anyway, just checking now to make sure that the lights are kind of evenly distributed throughout the tree. And now onto the resin. Now I am using Nick Pro's deep pour resin. They kindly gave me some to try out. And quite honestly, I've never used an actual deep pour resin before, so this is the first time. There are going to be all the discount codes for Nick Pro will be in the description box of the video below, so you guys can check it out. So all I did was I put my resin in. I'm using some just green pigment dye. I want the tree to be transparent, obviously, because I want to be able to see the lights through it, but I also want to be able to have it look like a tree. So, I'm just making it, I don't know, not too dark of a green, but not too light either. And then I'm just going to pour a little bit in and kind of squeeze it down and make sure it gets in the very, very bottom of this tree so that I don't have an air bubble and the tree is unfinished. And, me being me, I didn't make up enough resin. It's the first time I've used this tree mold, so I really wasn't sure how much I was going to need. I also did put in some of the Rolio, like Super Sparkle in there, just a tiny bit, just to give the tree some sparkle effects. And that's it. Let that cure. Now, for the tip of this pyramid, in my brain, I thought I kind of want to give it like a snowy type cloudy effect. So I got the Let's Resin Interference Blue and I'm just mixing that in. And again, I'm using the deep pour resin for this. And I'm going to put it into the tip of this pyramid. Hindsight, I like the way it turned out. I wish I would have done a little bit less. And honestly, at this point, I wasn't thinking, and I didn't really need to use the deep pour for this. I could have used just a regular one and been able to go on to the next stage a lot sooner. But, that's just what it is. I did take a toothpick and poke down the resin to make sure that it flows all the way into the tip of this pyramid, and then that's it. I'm going to let this sit for about 2 days before I get to the next part. So, now I decided, because this wasn't part of my original plan, I've got these little sphere molds, and I thought they would make a cute snowman. So, I'm going to make my own. Using the Nick Pro white mica powder and then again some of this super sparkle, I am just mixing up a little bit of resin and I'm going to put it into these spheres and let them cure. Now, I've never used these before. I've had them forever, never used them. When I demold them later on, and I don't know if it's just how they are, if it's because I just kind of, filled them to the top and let it go and didn't pay attention to them, they do get a bunch. I mean, a bunch of those little bubble holes all along the top where the opening is for you to demold it. So, if you've not done these before and you go to do something like this, pay attention, maybe get a toothpick. I didn't do that. Maybe if I had, it would have been better. I don't know. and kind of go around that top of that hole to dislodge any of those bubbles and get them to move. Because these holes are like itty bitty. Like I wasn't even sure how it was going to come out of the mold, quite honestly. But it is super stretchy silicone, so it comes out pretty easily. It's just the air bubbles that you get with it. Now, I did fill it up all the way and even put like a drip on top above it. When it cured, it did still have like an indent in it where, when it shrinks, when it cures. So it still wasn't like 100% completely round. But for this project, because it's going inside this pyramid, you're not going to be able to see that. I just put those two sides together where, the flat part, well, not flat, but the little hole was, and this is me showing all those little air pockets. And I glued those together. Again, you're not going to see them because of this. However, just kind of pay attention, if you decide to use these for something else that isn't going to be hidden. The tree came out beautifully. I mean, beautifully. I was worried because when I was looking at the mold, you know how sometimes you can look at it and you can tell the resin's like not there and you're going to get like a bunch of air pockets that you missed. And I really thought the way that this mold looked before I demolded it, that I was going to have a bunch of air bubbles that had stuck in like the branches of this tree. Thank goodness didn't happen, but it worried me a little bit here. But look how pretty it looks with the lights. Like I am so happy with this. It's gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. But yeah, so this is what I decided I'm gonna do, and I'm just gonna get some super glue and I'm gonna glue it together. I figured it'd work fairly well. So I just took a little bit of the gel type super glue and stuck it together, held it on for a couple of minutes just to make sure that that bond was there, set it off to the side, and I'm just kind of smearing around any like kind of loopy stuff that came out from there so that it has like a nice finish. And I'm kind of, when I did it, was kind of pushing it in the air where all those little air pockets were. And then I decided I had some gloss varnish and glitter mixed up from another project that I was working on that was sitting there. So I decided at this point I would just go ahead and make his eyes and nose and mouth and buttons while I had it ready instead of wasting it. So that's what I did. I had contemplated putting an orange nose on him, but once I got the mouth and the eyes on, the head was kind of too small for that. So I just went ahead and used the black glitter for his nose as well. So I'm just going to set him off to the side, let him finish drying, and move on to the tree. Now I want it to look like, again, a snowy scene. So I took some white acrylic paint and I just kind of dry brushed it onto the tree branches to kind of give it a little snowy look. And then again, taking the gloss varnish and just iridescent white glitter, I went on top of that paint, just hoping that it would give it a little bit of sparkle in, I guess, the tree to kind of make it glisten like if it actually was snow. That's it. Gonna set this off to the side, let it dry too, and then we're going to move on to putting this thing together. So the next day, I'm looking at this, and my snowman's looking a little derpy, and I realize he doesn't have arms, and he doesn't have a hat, and I don't really feel like fooling with that. So I figure I'll give him a scarf, at least. He can have a scarf. So I got this ribbon, and I'm just kind of folding it up to make it fit around his neck. It's got to be really, really tiny, and it takes me a few minutes and a few different ways to fiddle with it to get to that point. And I end up having to cut it down some because it was like way too fat and covering up his entire face. And then I'm just going to roll it up, take a little bit of hot glue and glue the seams together so then I don't have to worry about it coming undone once it's on him. And finding just the right, I guess, length for it and all of that good stuff. I got it on, put it on the back. I'm going to hot glue it down, both pieces. And since this ribbon does kind of fray when I glue the other part on, I'm going to just go over it with the glue that's on the tip of the hot glue gun just to kind of seal it down and keep those edges from fraying. And then I'm going to make the part of the scarf that comes down. So I'm going to fold another piece of that up and glue that together as well, just like I did before. It only this part is going to be the hanging part of the scarf. Okay, so now I'm doing is kind of deciding how I want the scarf to look when it's off of him. I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue in between and then figure out the length that I want it to be, cut it down to size. Again, I'm going to go over the edges of this ribbon with my hot glue gun just to make sure that it doesn't fray. And then I'm going to attach it to the snowman. And then he's done. Like, that's all I'm doing with him. He's just going to be armless and hatless, but he'll be fine. He will be fine. So now it's time to start thinking about how I want this set up inside this pyramid. I've never done anything like this before, so I like having an issue trying to figure out how to do it. The one thing that I tried to make with the figure upside down, I used some tape on it and he came loose and floated and it didn't work out. So now I'm trying to figure out how to attach all of this to make it hang in the depth that I want it to hang, not come undone and get loose. And I really wasn't sure the best way to go about it. So I got some popsicle sticks, the big fat crafty ones, and then some just kitchen skewers, and kind of taped my tree with painter's tape up there, crossed my fingers, and prayed to God that it wouldn't come undone. Because the tree does have some weight to it. It's not like it's, super, super light. And then once I had it taped up, it was not right. So I propped it up on some more skewers, and then it was too high. And it was a whole thing. Like, this took me a long time to figure out how to do that. But I got the tree done and I was like, okay, I want the tree kind of be sitting in the background and I want Stitch and I want the snowman to be setting in the foreground. And then the other issue came was how to make them all even, and Stitch had to hang lower in there. And then the snowman, I wasn't sure. Like, I put Stitch on just like some jewelry, clear wire stuff, and kind of hung him and propped him up to the skewers and then taped that in place. And then ended up getting UV resin because he was still hanging crooked because he was heavier on one side, and tried to UV resin his ear to part of the tree so that he would stay straight and not go crooked. So, like, it was a whole thing, and I'm sure I'm doing this wrong. I'm sure there's probably a better way of doing this than what I did it. Then with the snowman, I tried with the string and it didn't work because all he did was flop around in circles, and his bottom part was obviously heavier than his top part, so he kept wanting to go upside down. So that didn't work. So I was like, okay, well, I'll UV resin him to the tree too, and fingers crossed and hope for the best. So we'll see. Now, this part is the part that I would completely do differently if I do this again or when I do this again. And it is coloring it like this. I put in a little tiny bit, like I'm talking in this whole, I think it was like 200 ounces of resin in each cup. I put like 2 drops in one, and then the second cup, I would just put a drop in, a tiny bit of the super sparkle to make it shimmer. In my opinion, I mean, where yes, it looks cute. I think I should have left it maybe clear. I don't know. Should have left it clear. Maybe then with the sparkle it would look good. Now there's just too much going on. And I ended up screwing up a couple ways. So, even though this is a deep pour resin, there's still like bubbles got trapped in Stitch's head, like on the bottom part of it. So I think next time, if I'm going to insert anything in it like this, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take resin on my fingers and I'm going to run it over everything, like the Christmas tree, or any other order, like the snowman, whatever. I should have just kind of rubbed it on their heads first. I think maybe that would have stopped it from getting trapped there. I don't know. I don't know. And then I had to add more resin. I couldn't put it all in the first day because I went over my 4 inches already. And I forgot that I had taped the side of the mold because it was popping out. And I wasn't paying attention to it when I poured the last bit of resin in. And so now the freaking tape is resined in. So I had to cut a chunk out of this and it's away from the mold and it's just a hot freaking mess. But at least it's towards the back, right? So, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you can't really notice it in the finished piece unless you're looking for it and you know about it. But it's still there and it still upsets me that I wasn't thinking about it. So, here we are. This is 24 hours after pouring the last batch of the deep pour resin. Now I'm just using the regular Nic Pro crystal clear resin. I'm adding a tiny bit of white mica powder. I'm adding some super sparkle and I'm also adding this fake snow. Like I want this to be chunky, and I want it to look like snow is at the bottom of this tree and their feet. That's what I'm going for. So I'm just going to put all of this in, take the mold up to the top, and fingers crossed it doesn't leak all down the side where I had to dig into the freaking resin to get that tape out of there. And I don't have a mess on my hands. Like, that's all I can hope for now. So I will let this sit for another 24 hours and then I'm going to demold it. So, fingers crossed. I really, really hope this is a lot of resin to waste if it doesn't come out. Okay, so here we are. 24 hours later. It's cured. Let's see how easy it is to come out of this since I put the baby powder in here. I taped down the wire because I didn't want it to get stupid. And the baby powder works. It just pops right out. Now to demold this and see how it works. God, I hope it's not totally messed up. Okay, so pulling it off. Come on, pull it up. Oh my God, hurry up. I want to see it. And I mean, it comes out super easily. Like that was so easy to demold. It really was. I wasn't sure how it was going to be. I mean, I guess it's not really that much. I do see that I have some overpour, so that's kind of, I mean, it is what it is. All in all, not bad. Sorry about the upside downness. I keep forgetting that I switched my camera view and I'm used to showing you guys upside down. So, yeah, sorry about that. Uh I like it. I do. I like I mean, the snowman's kind of floating and he's a little crooked. So, he's just a flying, crooked, hatless, armless snowman, but it's fine. It's fine. And Stitch, I don't know, like okay, so I guess I poured the resin a little higher than the snowman cuz he's setting up higher. It's really hard to tell when you're upside down. But Stitch, I didn't think I even covered his feet. So I don't understand why he looks like he's flying as well. But maybe he's just jumping because he's happy. He's got a Christmas present in his hand, so maybe that's it. So I just took my deburring tool. I got the overpour off, cut my finger in the process on the sharpness. So I decided that I was going to go around the edge and just kind of file away any sharp points. And he's cute. I like when it's lit up. I do wish I hadn't used the blue and just left it clear with the super sparkle in there. I think would have been better. But for my first one, I don't think it's horrible. Like it's definitely not horrible. So here's the glamour shots and my flying snowman. Anyway, on that, I'm going to end this one. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I will catch you guys on Saturday for the next one. Love ya. Bye.